Hello, welcome to this edition of Intelligent Video Today. I'm your host, Steve Vonderhaar. Join us on today's episode, Adam Miller, CEO over at Nomad Media. Welcome, Adam.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate being here.
So tell us a little bit about the history of Nomad Media. How are you positioning yourself today in the world of video data management?
Video data management. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
It
So,
is.
generally speaking, we're a unique type of a solution in the industry today. Some people refer to us as a media asset management solution or asset solution of some sort. But in reality, we actually manage live video as well and bring in content management over the top of it. So we're a pretty unique solution from the perspective that we run exclusively in the cloud, although we can interact with on-prem data sources. But we've really brought together a couple of unique approaches to how we solve customers' video needs today. Not just simply archive management or media management, but also that live management piece as well.
That's awesome. So here at IntelliVid, we're kind of look at the role of video transforming in the enterprise. Historically, it's been a medium that is used to communicate effectively on a one-to-many basis, but increasingly we're seeing it emerge rather than as a piece of media, really as a piece of data that can play a pivotal role in developing reference materials for building corporate knowledge. How at Nomad Media do you see AI changing the types of services that your company offers?
Well, I'll tell you, AI has pretty much been the cornerstone of our business since it really began nearly 7 or 8 years ago. I think the key to it is that it's just evolved and what the capabilities are have evolved significantly, and that's changed our landscape. So as an example, I like to refer to AI today as having three generations. Sort of this is my own view of it, so I'm not sure that others would agree. But generally, generation one was the beginning of all the AI goodness from a video management perspective, meaning you could do object detection, label detection, and transcriptions. And that was great 7 or 8 years ago. And that's what I really refer to as generation one. Then a few years ago, the LLMs really started to become very popular. So the idea of an LLM being able to give you that rich contextual search, that's really powerful. And today, that's really what the world knows about from an LLM or from a deep video understanding perspective. And that's changed our landscape significantly because it's allowed the users, our users, to be able to understand what's in their media and really use that media and work with their media in a much more really efficient and extensive way. What's cool though is that generation three is what I call it. That's what we're just beginning to enter into. And I like to say that this is really where the AI allows us to use, and to use the saying, we're going to meet our customers where they are. So rather than forcing our customers to have to come to a whole new website and a new experience, how do we bring this AI goodness that we have, that we've harnessed, to wherever they are, the applications where they are, the solutions where they're already using on a daily basis? And that's really the next iteration of where all this AI is going for us, for this really that generation three, as I refer to it. Underneath, it's the same technology, but it's really the evolving AI abilities and capabilities is what's enabling our new service offerings.
Yeah, you're really coming into the workflows that people use on a regular basis instead of making them go to some isolated video island somewhere out in the middle of the ocean. It's actually where they live, where they work.
Exactly right. That's it.
So, can you provide a little more detail on how Nomad fits into the overall video search ecosystem? When I take a first glance at what you folks do, I would think that you compete with companies like 12 Labs and Mobius Labs, but actually, those folks are partners of yours. So, walk us through how we should think about Nomad and how it fits within the context of the overall market.
It is funny because there's a lot of, I don't want to say confusion in the market, but there's a lot of overlapping components that oftentimes people get confused as to really what solution does what. So I like to use an example or an analogy. My favorite one is the idea that you can think of Nomad Media as a car. And we are the beautiful paint on the outside. You can buy it off the showroom floor. There's a warranty to it. And really, we are that solution, that car that you're driving down the road. So that's us. But inside the car, there's a transmission and there's an engine or a motor. And those are things like the AI models, or in some cases, the AWS ecosystem, for example, or other cloud offerings. So really, our car is made up of all these inside pieces. Now, what's cool about that is that you can buy different types of cars. And in fact, you can also swap out the engine. So in this case, for example, if 12 Labs had a wonderful solution that we're using for a specific customer, we might have a different customer that says, I'd like to use a different AI technology. At the end of the day, we're that car. We just have different transmissions and motors inside. And that also allows us on the live side, for example, to bring in things like real-time video solutions from some of our partner companies. So we can mix and match and sort of swap the components inside. So oftentimes there is a bit of confusion around sort of what's the difference between 12 Labs, let's say, and Nomad. Well, we're that car around the outside, and 12 Labs and others are really those fundamental pieces inside.
That's a great analogy. It really helps put that into a better sense of understanding. And it's very much apropos to the actual automotive model. You have different automobile companies buying engines from other folks and powering their cars with those, and they sell the end product to the actual customer. And the same model's happening here.
You got it.
So, how do customers then access this car? How do they access Nomad's features and capabilities? Should we think of you as the equivalent of a SaaS platform?
It's a tricky word because in today's world, I don't think people like the word SaaS anymore. Suddenly it's not a cool word anymore. But generally speaking, we are sort of a SaaS platform, but we're really more of what we call a PaaS platform.
Hey, tell us about that.
Yeah, so exactly. So the difference is that a platform as a service is where, and I'm going to go back to the analogy again, where you can lease the car and you can then drive that car around in your neighborhood. So the idea is that for a monthly charge, we deploy our software into your cloud account. Let's take AWS, for example. We deploy it into your AWS account. So in other words, you're in your neighborhood. Nothing is leaving your neighborhood. And that's very important for us because especially in today's world where you have AI models, you have potentially face training data, your media itself, we want those to be the exclusive property of that customer and be retained in their cloud environment. So we take our car, if you will, our software, put it into their world, and it stays there. So our customers just simply pay a monthly fee. We manage and maintain it. I like to call it a white glove service, where we ensure that it's being managed and supported well in their environment. And generally, we just simply become part of their ecosystem. Now, this also gives us the ability to keep some of the AI model training data in their world. And at the end of the day, it's about our relationships. Remember those car parts and those vendors? Well, now we can all work together for a good pricing solution and a good just overall solution for our customers. So the idea is that we all work together to meet the needs of our solution, of our customer, where they're at, which is inside their cloud account.
Now, platform as a service, I understand how it works in the video content or the archive video world. You've mentioned your live capabilities a couple times. Tell us about what Nomad can do in terms of enabling live video feeds.
Yeah, that's part of what makes us pretty unique because generally we believe that live video is also a huge component of today's video ecosystem. In other words, the video has to come from somewhere. So it's probably going to be a big chunk of it's going to be coming in from live. So we've brought that into our ecosystem as I like to call it a first-class citizen, meaning that our customers can originate media that they already have from some kind of a source. Maybe it's a thumb drive or a cloud account somewhere, or they can also bring in the content from a live solution. Now, in that case, some types of live solutions are real time. Other ones might be huge volume delivery and they're, let's say, delayed by 6 seconds. It's up to our customers to give the needs for what they have. And then we work with the appropriate live solution to get the best one out there for the most economical solution. As an example, if you have a solution that needs real-time video, glass to glass in less than a second, we're going to have a partnership that we'll do with that. In other words, that's one of the engines we have. Or we can also work with others to be able to bring those more higher scale delivery ones. The key is that we can monitor those with AI. We can actually bring that solution into the archive as soon as it's done. That, in other words, that live feed drops right back in. And we have things like live clipping modules that sit right over the top of that live feed. So I can turn around and get live video from an AI perspective right back out to my customers or to their customers seconds after it occurred.
Really, with the platform as a service, you're really bringing together multiple solutions under a single platform that organizations can leverage. Why do you think it's important for end users to have access to multiple different approaches in terms of handling and managing AI on an ongoing basis?
Well, it's important because there are so many solutions out there today. I mean, the landscape is just littered with solutions and possibilities, especially from an AI perspective, of the things that work and new models, and it's just constantly changing and evolving. And going back to that car analogy, most of our customers are the business users. Most of our customers say, "I really don't want to be a mechanic. I don't want to have to be swapping the engines left and right. And when the new engine upgrade comes out, I don't want to be responsible for putting it in the car. I don't want to retrofit it. So that's our job. Our job is to keep the best and brightest on our team, monitoring all the solutions out there today, keeping them in tip-top shape for our customers, and ensuring that our customers can focus on the business and making sure they don't have to worry about trying to do the integrations. That's where a lot of our integration with the live pieces come in, because so many of our customers have said, we've had to buy a live solution, then we found a content solution and a management solution for this and that. That's our job, is to bring them together for one overarching solution, that car, if you will, for our customers.
So who are those customers today? Who are the big revenue generators for Nomad Media? Do you see yourself playing a role with the enterprise organizations either now or in the future?
You know, we do. It's funny. A lot of times we get sort of pigeonholed into the idea that we're part of video management, so therefore media entertainment must be our biggest customer. Well, the reality is it's actually not. Ironically, anybody today who has a lot of video is a customer of ours. So as an example, of course, we have wonderful customers in the media entertainment world, right? Take nice companies like FanDuel, for example. They do a lot of broadcasts both on the live side as well as the video management side. But then we also move into other areas of the industry ecosystem, let's call it state local government, where, for example, San Diego Sheriff is managing all of their media with us. Well, their live video feeds as well. The idea is that we really can take any of those use cases that are video centric and wrap that content management solution around it. So we now have metadata, both security wise as well as metadata wise, that's unique to their industry, but the core underpinnings are still video. So we don't actually have a specific industry that we really target. I mean, as an example, going back to your question about the corporate world, we actually have a number of really wonderful corporate customers, and anything from being able to do the marketing departments, training departments, as well as just simply managing the mountains of video that they have, just as a corporation, is really a great opportunity for us.
So when I think about video platforms, I know that many video platforms try to make hay in the education, training, learning space. Are you playing a role there? Is that an active area for Nomad to address?
We do. So we have, for example, one of our customers is McGraw-Hill, and they utilize us to manage much of the media in their world. Now, McGraw-Hill is a pretty big company, so they have a number of different providers there. But generally speaking, our core components of being able to deliver that video on demand for them is one of the big drivers. Now, what's also interesting about this is that the industry is evolving from a remote, let's call it a remote learning perspective, in a couple of really unique ways. Number one, the idea that we have all of this video content can now turn into knowledge bases. So the second part is that can now be combined with learning plans. So if I have the understanding from a AI perspective of what is it that I'm trying to do, then the video segments can literally be componentized, taken apart, chopped up, and individual new videos can be presented back to our customers from a remote learning perspective. In other words, rather than giving them a 25-hour presentation, of which they only need 1/3 of it, the AI can now create these online videos that are much more succinct just to their needs.
So what should we be on the lookout in terms of product roadmap for you folks, say in the next 6 months to a year or so? My hunch is you probably have a couple of AI enhanced capabilities coming down the pike.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't say that had all kinds of wonderful AI things going on. Generally speaking, I think that the idea of AI is really transforming. There's always the core components of this, which are oriented around search, right? Video understanding and the searchability of your catalog. And that's going to continue. And we're not going to be changing that core focus of our product. But really, there's going to be a lot of new evolution around this content. So as an example, we just released one of our newest and most amazing user experiences, our newest UI. We're very proud of that, and it's wonderful. But it's probably going to be our last. Because as I mentioned at the beginning, really, this whole world is all about bringing our technology to where they are. So as an example, being able to use tools like Claude Code and be able to, or Claude itself, and be able to access what their media catalogs right through a chat prompt in their world, right? There's huge opportunities there. Think of us as the UI building blocks now that we can then be assembled as custom apps almost inside of their worlds. It's a whole next generation that's coming down the line that's outside of just the video understanding. It's really now evolving into products that are evolved around with our building parts.
Now, let's dive into that a little bit more. The future of applications is really around agentic applications on a moving forward basis. So what role do you see video playing in enabling agentic output?
Well, it's a tricky one because I think last year was probably the world of, I think I heard the term last year, agentic was in its experimentation phase, and this year it's in its production phase, right? So really, what are we going to be doing? Well, we're going to be hopefully using it in a real world this year. So the most important thing for our customers is that in order for agentic experiences to work, they need the content and they need the context. In other words, we need to do something and we need the information to be able to do it. And that's what enables the agentic world to come to life. So this is much more than archives now. In fact, everyone used to refer to media asset management solutions as archives. But in reality, we've now become their media catalogs again, because it's now just about exposure of all their media that they can now use in these agentic workflows. Take, for example, Texas Roadhouse. It's one of our customers. They have training materials across all their locations across the United States. They can now have a knowledge base based upon all the material that their users can now query. They didn't have to build that. The LLMs are able to create that. Or take a marketing department, and let's say that they're working directly in Canva, and they say, I need some media for my catalog. And they access it directly from right there inside Canva. So there's quite a few ways that we're going to be interacting with these new, really agentic experiences by being able to pull our catalog information directly into their workflows.
So look in the crystal ball a little bit. That's the more near-term applications you're talking about on an agentic side. But 3 to 5 years hence, I know it's very hazardous to predict the future, but what trends do you see shaping AI video platform development over the intermediate term?
Well, I'll tell you, if my crystal ball was anything but murky at the moment, I'd be lying to you. But generally speaking, I like to think that there's the core components of this, which ironically are not so related to technology, that I think are going to be the trends. Number one, I think the biggest trends are that people figured out that all this costs a lot of money. And you can't just simply turn on all this AI goodness and, hey, it just works. And suddenly it's hitting people's pocketbooks. So I think the biggest trend we're going to see is that we've hit a bit of a peak right now with the capabilities of price per value. And the price consciousness is going to come through extensively over the next 12 to 24 months. People are going to say, all this is amazing, but how can I do it economically again? Because I have to make money with this. I think the second thing is that partnerships are going to be heavily really built. In other words, I find models or I find partners or I find vendors that work really well in my ecosystem, and you're going to have to work together. Because today, this isn't about I go find one partner and they solve all this. There's so many components to it that these partnerships are really important. We're going to see those really benefiting the customers in the end as those partnerships grow. And I think the biggest thing today too is that media companies or companies with media have not fully appreciated what they're even doing yet. They don't know the possibilities. So rather than a crystal ball saying this is the answer, I think the crystal ball says companies are going to be figuring out their needs. There's going to be a lot of uncovering opportunity. And this is going to be almost more of an exploration phase over the next 24 months for companies to say, and as there's a saying that AWS likes to say, the art of the possible. Right? What is it that we can do to really enable our customers, their customers, in fact? Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of that really going on that's outside of just simply a technology solution.
I'm happy to hear you say that. I think that success for vendors in the AI age is going to hinge more on their ability to listen to customers' needs as opposed to telling them the technology that they need to deploy. We need a marketplace that's going to create solutions that help organizations become more productive. And I think that Nomad Media is on the path to doing that. Adam Miller, CEO of Nomad, thanks so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate being here.
And we thank you for taking the time to watch this episode of Intelligent Video Today. If you want access to more interviews in our series, go to the link on YouTube, subscribe to our channel, and you'll get notifications of future episodes of the Intelligent Video Today series. For IntelliVid Research and Intelligent Video Today, I'm Steve Vonderhaar. Thanks for your time.